Hello everybody, it's Bob here today to talk about how my objective here with painting this building. What I've noticed with brick is if you look at it closely, it's a multitude of colors, far smaller than a sane person would be willing to detail. The right way to do it would probably be to do it with a very fine bristle brush and about 7 or 8 different colors within the family, and coming up with a finish that has the variety that brick has if you look at it up close. From a distance, brick pretty much looks the same. It's a reddish color with whitish grout, but it doesn't capture the fine detail of what brick really looks like. Here, what I'm doing is putting on multiple layers of acrylic paint dabbed on in various different layers, with the lighter colors being in the center and the darker colors being on the outside, and then putting red and grays all over once the underlying layers have dried. This is not a terracotta wash. What I've done is taken acrylic paint and watered it down a little bit so that the material flows, and then I'm taking water to thin the paint out so that it's transparent. So we're taking watered down acrylic paint just slightly and then spreading it out using water in order to get a really thin coverage of paint so that it goes on transparent. Now you'll know when you go too much, because what'll happen here is the water will pool, the paint will run off, and you won't get any coverage at all, which you'll see in a later, when I show you what the ends of this, how they actually came out, you'll see that there was, the result of that was just too much water in the paint. Either paint was too watery when I put it on, or I used too much water to dilute and spread the paint to make it transparent. And this is solved by just either going back and adding more layers of paint. If you have the depth, the grout, you got to be careful, because if you put too many coats of paint on this, then you won't have grout lines. It'll be like a brick structure. But the thing about working with acrylics, and you'll see this when I grout the building, there's an optimum amount of water to paint that makes the acrylic flow correctly in a way that works to achieve the goal of the paint. Whether it be, for example, when you grout, if you put too much water in the acrylic paint, it'll just wash right off the model. And if you use too much paint, then it'll fill up your grout lines. And so there's just the right amount of paint to water, which, believe me, I do things 3 and 4 times in order to get that effect correct throughout one model. But I mean, that's the joy of modeling. Worst comes to worst, if you really screw it up so bad that you end up filling up all your grout lines because your paint was too thick, you just bathe the thing in alcohol, strip it back down to nothing, and do it all over again. Now the tough part of this is that you can't do this painting on the fly, because what will happen is that when you apply the paint even a little bit thick, the water in the paint makes the color look thicker than it is. So what will happen is when the water evaporates out of the acrylic paint, the toner is left and it thins out after you dry. So you have to play around with the you have to play around with it for quite a bit in order to get that correct transparency. You can't tell it just by looking at it when the paint is wet. You have to paint it, let it dry, see what it looks like, and then do it all over again in places where you did too little or too much. And eventually you'll get the right effect, and you don't have to be a master art airbrusher, which would be a hell of a lot easier way to do it if you have it and you're proficient with the airbrush to get those clear, get the right amount of clarity. The other thing is you want to keep a Q-tip around, because when you do use too much water, the paint will flow downward and it'll rest on ridges and it'll create high spots. So you want to use your Q-tip to dab excessive water. So here's our project after the first layer is dried, and you can see how uneven the terracotta color is from location to location. You can see the undercolors, you can see the whites, the browns, the blacks, the reds, and this first coat clearly shows that it isn't enough, so we'll go ahead and put a second coat on using the exact same process, putting on color, watering it down so that it's very thin, and then seeing how it dries. Now, in the end, the goal of this is not to create a working building that's been properly maintained. This is designed to be an old building that you're more likely to see out on the East Coast than you can out in California, where I'm located. California, a building like this would have been long since torn down because of earthquake codes. But there's still a building around here and there that shows this kind of old brick that I'm trying to model, and in a lot of ways, I think I achieved that goal at the end. But we'll talk more about that when I get there. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see this well enough, but you can see the differences. You can kind of see the white splotches. I can see the white sponge through the camera here, and I can see the black, and it's fair to see. Yeah, there you go. You can see that. You should be able to see that differences in the black, and then that's a little bad because it's behind the paint, but I'm not going to worry about that too terribly much. This is a little bit overdone. Paint didn't cover well. I'll probably put one more coat on this side and on the other side. This is minimal acceptable standard. Because I put so much paint on this thing, I'm not going to stress on it. I might put a little bit more paint there and there to cover up that black. But the rest of this is the minimal look of what we're going for. You want to be able to see the outer color over the inner colors so that you get this differentiation of paint. And if you're doing this from a kit, not doing it as a model rebuild, it's a lot easier because you don't have to worry about the windows and take care of take care to get everything right. You'll be able to have better control over a model when you do this before you do anything paint wise and assemble the building. But this right here is probably also going to get another coat of paint because of these areas, that area there, and that area there, and that area there. But that's pretty good. I mean, most of the rest of this is pretty good. And then the next step would be to clear coat it. And then what'll happen here is when we put the grout on the rest of the model, that those big blotchy areas won't appear so blotchy. It'll be broken up by the white and it'll blend in. So I'll put another coat of this terracotta color off camera and let it dry, clear coat it off camera, and then I'll come back to the grouting. So here we are with the third coat, and it looks amazing. Very nicely done. I get a lot of even color, but you can still see variation through the terracotta paint. You can get some lights and some darks. Came out perfectly. Very happy with where we are up to this point. And so the I go out with acrylics, so it's basically the same process, but a little bit different because I try for one shot with a semi-watered down beige color and try to do it in a single shot. Okay, so I'm working with acrylics. That's what you want to see. This is what you don't want to see. So I'm going to obviously use too much water. Perfect. And I got lucky here running down the side. All this is pretty good. Need more there, and so this is all pretty good too, as a matter of fact. So again, it's a matter of process. Do it, see what works, let it dry, do it again, let it work, do it dry until you're satisfied. So now we've gotten everything coated. It's coated to my satisfaction all over. Now the rubbing begins. And what I'm doing is I'm taking these brown napkins. You can get them from Taco Bell and McDonald's. I think they're recycled and they don't absorb for nonsense. I used to use cotton on this, but I've just accidentally discovered that these recycled napkins work much better because they don't absorb the way cotton does. You can see how little water I'm using, and then we're just going to rub-a-dub-dub and rub the paint off the top. And being as not damp as this, being as dry as this, how little water I'm using on this, because the only point of the water is to prevent friction. It's like an oil. It's not really. It also kind of loosens up the paint. Loosen up the paint that's on the top, and then you can kind of see that the color, all those colors that we painted underneath our orange, are showing through, and so it gives the brick a really natural look. This is going to take a while, so we'll do this all off camera, and I'll update you on when I get one side of this thing done so you can see, and I'll compare it to the other side. Okay, I did something wrong here. And what I think I did was I started applying the grout color over the clear coat that wasn't completely dry. Oops, sorry. So I was putting the clear coat over, or I was putting the grout coat over paint that wasn't completely, clear coat that wasn't completely dry. And I was having a hard time getting the color off it. And I was scratching up the paint. And you can see here with the napkins and all that stuff, I was going through a lot. I tried putting some isopropyl alcohol in here, but it was, again, that just made the thing about going through the color worse. So I got angry. I said, screw it, I'm going to start over. But as I did, I ended up with this. And I like the look. This is a happy accident. This wasn't what I planned on doing, but I can work with this. good thing about working around and being a hack and just kind of not knowing what you're doing is every once in a while you come across a happy accident. So on my next brick project, I'm going to try and I'm going to do the same process, but I'm going to make sure that the clear coat is dry, and I'm going to redo the paint so that I end up with the end product that looked like this, where I had no problems. I did the exact same thing, or so I thought, and it came out fine here, but it didn't come out fine here. So because this wasn't for anybody and it's not for anything, I'm just going to sell this model at my local hobby store probably in order to pay for the $500 locomotives I keep buying. I can work with this. This will tell a story, so I'm going to continue stripping off the paint so that all the other three sides look like this side, and then I'll come back and tell you what I'm going to do here in order to balance everything out and make the world right again. I still have some cleaning up to do on those windows, obviously, but I think I'm okay with the brick. Not what I planned on doing. I think it looks pretty good. I don't know. You guys leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I really don't know what to do next. Like I say, need some cleaning up, but I'm really thinking I'm okay with this. I'm going to need more experienced eyes to take a look at this, because my hack mind, I don't know. I mean, it's pretty good, but I don't know.